came as one of a kind. The question is what kind? We can debate that. And one time I asked her, what kind are you anyway? Are you a cat person or you a dog person? She immediately responded, I can be both, and I am both. I think she posted about that interaction that day on Facebook. And I've gotten to know her better, and since then, I'm pretty confident that she could be. She should also be a kangaroo person, maybe a chinchilla person, maybe a billy goat person as well, all together. I'm actually not kidding, I think she would. In addition to her love for animals, she has a beautiful young boy named. She calls him her human child. And I have it on good authority that because she has a human child, this cat lady is not a sociopath. Just throwing that out there. With that in mind, her actual achievements are amazing. A few years ago, I did an audit of my syllabus. Who am I using as authors in there? She was one of 2 people that had 2 papers on my syllabus. The other one, by the way, Jen Richardson, you might have heard of her, so I thought, okay, I'm doing well in terms of diversity of authors I was using. So of all the papers I thought students should read in my grad social course, she had 2 of them, which I found amazing. Beyond that, I'm never a fan of counter publications. People tend to do that in particular for tenure and promotion. I think that's ridiculous, whatever. But I did go to Google Scholar. She had 133 publications. I didn't count them. I counted to the end and then dropped a couple open science things. So I think it's 133, but I'm probably wrong. And again, I want to stress, some people stress quantity over quality, and I want to go back to my syllabus. 2 of my papers were in fact hers. I've read multiple papers. I accepted one of her papers at Social Issues Policy Review. It was excellent. It was fun to read. I had minimal comments to it. And on Google Scholar, she has 3 state papers that have been cited over 100 times. So it's not just quantity, it's quality. That's the fun part. Areas of expertise cover, and I know I missed some. Religious identity, you heard about that this trip, multicultural approaches, realistic intergroup threat, non-conformity, political correctness, cultural appropriation, and the list goes on. And these are excellent articles throughout. Beyond her publication record, she is editor of Self and Identity, and she has been associate editor for 7 other journals. So I say she's done her share of service to the field. And beyond that, and most important for me, she's an amazing scholar, she's a member of the field, and most important for me, she's just an amazing person and friend. With that, let me introduce our Diversity and Science Award winner, Dr. Ken Riggs.
I can't overstate what an honor it is to be here today and how frankly terrifying it is. Thank you all so much for coming, and I want to first thank Michael for his lovely introduction, for being one of my biggest academic cheerleaders over the years and encouraging my pursuit of diversity science research when I was very new to the field. And now he's a collaborator and hopefully a lifelong friend. Second, I'd like to thank Adam Cohen, who nominated me for this award not once but twice. So if you don't succeed the first time, keep going and persist. Good things might happen. Adam and I are pictured right here with our cohort of amazing students that we had the fortune of co-teaching at Summer Institute for Social and Personality Psychology in August 2023 at Ohio State. And Adam and I have since published a few papers, hopefully first of many, related to diversity science. I would be remiss if I didn't also acknowledge those in my academic lineage. Vicki Plout was my graduate student mentor when I was an undergraduate at Stanford and taught me everything that I needed to know about research and ultimately applying for grad school. I would not be up here on this stage if it weren't for her. Once I started at the Graduate School of Business at Stanford, I was fortunate to have 2 amazing advisors. Dale Miller, who was always ready with big picture ideas, and who's a co-author with me on my one and only JPSP to date. And Christian Wheeler, who's here right now, was very junior when I first started as a graduate student, so I decided that he would be my relatable and approachable advisor. And my first couple weeks in graduate school, I had some severe feelings of imposter syndrome, not knowing if I belonged, if I was doing this whole graduate school thing right. And when I went into his office to talk about it, I will never forget what he said. He said, "Well, you're way ahead of where I was at your stage. I was just this kid from Iowa who decided to go to graduate school at Ohio State because my only other path that I saw was to work in a group home, and I'm not nice enough to work in a group home." I tell my students this story to normalize feelings of imposterism and not belonging because we have all been there. I'm, through Christian, the proud academic grandchild of Rich Petty, who, even though he was never my direct advisor, has been so phenomenally generous with his time and expertise and has touched so many people in the field. Finally, Oscar Ibarra was my almost advisor had I gone to Michigan for graduate school. But we ended up collaborating anyway throughout my PhD program, and now, by a happy coincidence, we're colleagues at the University of Illinois, and our sons, who were pictured right there last Halloween, are the best of friends. I also would like to acknowledge some of the earliest and most formative friendships within the field. Hillary Bergsiger and I went to undergraduate together at Stanford, and here we are in 2003 at our very first SPSP in Los Angeles, which we road tripped together to attend. And here we are again in 2023 recreating that picture. Once I got to graduate school, I met an amazing group of classmates, including Gabe Adams, Rosalind Chow, and Ina Ibasi. And we still get together for dinners whenever we happen to be in the same place. We have a text thread where we continue to lift each other up and support one another's accomplishments and be there for disappointments as well. And finally, in 2005, at SPSP, I met Ken DeMarie at his poster session, and I was so nervous to approach him. That's the poster, by the way. I saved it through multiple moves, and so there's still a hard copy in my office. Ken was the senior graduate student at Ohio State who worked with my advisor, Christian, whose studies always worked, and my studies back then almost never worked. So Ken and I, it turns out, had a lot more in common besides research, and became very close friends. And despite that we're both introverts, our personal and professional networks at conferences doubled because I could meet his colleagues and he could meet mine. And to this day, we're very, very close, and I would not have survived academia and the tenure track without him. Back in 2013, when I was 5 years into the tenure track, I moved to Ohio University to start a faculty position. And at the time, I had some serious questions for many reasons about whether I belonged in academia at all, where my research was going, and moving to OU, having this amazing group of colleagues, in some ways saved my academic and professional life. And it's not just because there's a charter plane at OU that can take you to conferences. That's actually a true story. While there, I was an academic faculty mentor to Jenny Howell when I was fresh out of the tenure process. And it was so important to me to learn how to effectively mentor and guide my junior colleagues, and I continue to try and do so to this day. Keith Markman is a very, very close friend who was partially responsible for my getting to OU in the first place. And the late Mark Alec, I know if he were still with us, he would be extremely proud and happy to see me up here today. Mark had a lot of big and intellectually stimulating ideas and encouraged me to finally write that theory paper on my sabbatical, the one that's pictured here, that I had been putting off for years. My friendships in the field with those outside my home institutions have spanned the globe and spanned many, many years. Some of these people I met through conference presentations, some I met through mutual collaborators, others I met through my dog's Twitter account, and you did hear that right. And one who gave me permission to share this story, I met because he tried to replicate one of my early papers. And some of it replicated, but a lot of it didn't. But instead of treating each other as academic adversaries, Jarrett Crawford and I decided to meet and have a conversation about what we had in common and turn what could have been an adversarial relationship in the field into one of our most valued friendships. Well, at least from my perspective, hopefully it feels the same way. So my students are also part of who I am as a person and scholar. Among the individuals pictured here are my very first student dancing with my son at her wedding, a student who overcame severe stats and public speaking anxiety and now is on a tenure track at a top liberal arts school, two students from Iran who speak 4 languages fluently apiece, a student who worked full-time at KFC, put themselves through college in their 30s before applying to work with me at OU, and a student who was the first in his family to go to college and described to me how delighted he was to explain the principles of multiple regression to his dad. I am so proud of all of my students and will continue to work with them, support them wherever their careers may take them. Finally, I am so happy to be a part of my new academic home, University of Illinois, with my wonderful colleagues who are helping rebuild the diversity science area within social psych. And I'll leave you with one final thought for my presentation. I focused a lot on the positives of academia and of conferencing, but I know for many, maybe most of us in this room, conferences, academia may not feel safe, inclusive, and welcoming to everybody. And so, at the risk of sounding kind of weird, I do invite you, and this is sincere, if you're ever having a bit of conference social anxiety, if you don't know if you belong, if you just need somebody to talk to and say hi, or somebody to sit with at a meal, I'll make space for you, because every single one of these people on my slides have made space for me and have helped shape me within this field. Thank you very much.